But on to the next thing. I want to talk about Milestone Comics. And
this is gonna be all you, bro.
Yeah, I'm gonna spend a lot of time talking before Mayor starts to butt in. But essentially, Milestone Comics it was a subsidiary of DC Comics, and it was started by a group of black guys who wanted to make black superheroes and black stories. Are you good, bro?
Sorry, I just cut myself. Yeah, no.
Yeah. But yeah,
I bought batarangs online, and I've been playing. I was sitting here like fidgeting with it. I accidentally cut my finger. So
that is the wildest thing to hear. Man, I just made a mistake cut myself on my batarang.
No, like I literally like look at these. They're cool, but
yeah, I know. But yeah, Milestone Comics, they set out to make a universe of black superheroes. So their like universe, they called it the Dakotaverse. It was basically a universe where there's this city called Dakota City, and in this city there was this thing that they called the Big Bang event, but it's not like the way you think it is. It all started because there was a gang war, and the police showed up to stop, basically the fighting and the rioting, and they threw tear gas. But unbeknownst to the police officers, the tear gas was laced with a mutagen called quantum juice that resulted in a bunch of like metahumans being created. And one of those metahumans, most popularly, is Static Shock. He went there to get revenge on a bully that was a part of a gang, and he got caught up in the smoke, and he got his electromagnetic powers. Basically, this company was using black people as an experiment. Like I said, they really, their goal was to touch on black issues. So the idea of a big corporation using us as an experiment is not unrealistic. It's something that's happened in real life. A big philosophy that they used when creating characters there are three major like character archetypes, and they base it off of the three most popular superheroes ever: Superman, Batman, and Spider-Man. Their Superman is Icon. I know you've heard of Icon. Icon, he's an alien who crash landed on Earth in 1839.
I do love Icon.
Yeah, he crash landed on Earth in 1839 during slavery, and then a black woman found him. She was obviously a slave at the time, and he was basically the ship or whatever was programmed to have him kind of like shapeshift into the first person he saw. So he turned into a black man, and he lived as a slave until, of course, he wasn't a slave anymore. And it wasn't until the 90s that he actually became a superhero. So for like over 100 years, he actually was just living as a normal person. And every time he would obviously get to the point where he should be dead because he would be an old man, he would just restart his identity as the son of his previous identity. And he became a superhero when this girl broke into his house and tried to rob him. And then, he basically caught her, showed her what she was doing was wrong. And she basically discovered that he had powers. And she convinced him that he could help black people with those powers that he has. He's essentially Superman. He's a black Superman. I know, some people always get upset when you compare. It's like how some video game developers don't want to say that their video game is like a mix of one video game and another video game because they don't want to put themselves in that box. Just like that, they don't want to be put in the box of this is just a black Superman. He's obviously not just a black Superman, but he kind of is essentially the black version of Superman. And there's no denying that. But that doesn't make him any less of a good character. The kind of Batman version that they created that wasn't nearly as popular as Icon and Static, though, was Hardware. And he was basically a genius who was working for a company that basically shortchanged him and like stole his work. So he decided to get back at the company who was actually working for a criminal enterprise. So he became Hardware. He's essentially like a combination of Iron Man and Batman. He's basically more like if Lucius Fox became Batman instead of Batman. And then last but not least, the Spider-Man character, Static Shock, was basically their teenage superhero that was meant to, be someone for kids to look up to. And, you said you're not the biggest fan of Static Shock. So
I'm not, honestly. I never have been. The closest thing to Static Shock that I've liked was the Young Justice version of Static Shock, the Young Justice cartoon. I
So,
really, really like him in that, and I'm not even the biggest fan of the Young Justice show, so that's a
so what do you like about the Static Shock and Young Justice in comparison to Static Shock, like in his own cartoon?
I didn't see a lot of his cartoon. I only see a few episodes of his cartoon. I've read a lot more of his comics than I have seen of his cartoons, so I can really only speak for the comic version. But in Young Justice, the show, one, he seems a lot more like, he feels like he's a lot more agency to his character rather than just like bumbling from one like crime to the next and figuring out as he goes. He seems to have a lot more like agency in his movements. He feels like he really wants to be a superhero in Young Justice. And again, I can't speak to Static Shock and the Static Shock show as to how eager he is to become a superhero, but like he wants Black Lightning to be his mentor. He's like, oh, there's another dude with like similar powers to me. Let him be my mentor and all that stuff. I really like his dynamic with Black Lightning. Even though that only lasted for like 2 episodes, because that seems to be everything in Young Justice that's cool only lasts for like an episode and a half. Yeah. But yeah, no, like I don't know. I just feel like I like him a lot more in Young Justice. And he has like the whole arc in season 2 when he's first introduced with like the little runaway people.
Yeah,
I don't know, I like that.
For me, he's meant to be like their version of Spider-Man. He's meant to make mistakes at first and then slowly get better. For me, I feel like for him to be at that kind of, to get to that stage of agency faster, for him to be like confident, want to do what he wants to do, and actually be competent.
I wouldn't even say really be competent, but just like have more purpose in what he does. Like I don't know. I just preferred if he was like, okay, something's going down, I'm gonna go at the very least try to intervene, kind of thing. And again, I can't speak to Static of the show, but like that's not what I feel like that's not usually where he comes from. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that's not usually what he does.
Yeah, because I mean I'm sorry, words just got jumbled, but they really trying to push across the fact that he's a Black teenager. He, for the most part, most people are taught to just mind your business. So when you see something happening, you don't want to get involved with that, especially since he doesn't know what these powers are. He's just some random kid that got caught up in this experiment, and he doesn't know what he's doing. So, I feel like with Static Shock, he's a character that just you have to hold out for a while to let him get to that point to where he realizes, much like Spider-Man, like, with great power comes great responsibility, and I can't no longer just ignore things when I see it, because like what Spider-Man said in Civil War to Iron Man, when the bad things happen and you have the power to stop it, but you don't do anything, they happen because of you.
Right. Okay, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'll give him another shot. I don't know. I've just again.
That quote is really good, despite the fact that Spider-Man in that movie thought that it didn't make sense, even though it really did make a bunch of sense. Like immediately after he said it, he was like, that doesn't make sense. And I was like, yeah, it does make sense.
I don't know. We both have problems with MCU Spider-Man. I feel like I have more problems with MCU Spider-Man than maybe you do, but MCU Spider-Man is a special case. Special little buddy.
Yeah, for me, he just, well, we can talk about that another time. Let's not get into that. But yeah, those are the 3 kind of character archetypes that they started with. They were attempting to be revived. They were going to attempt a revival a few years ago, but it got halted because Dwayne McDuffie, kind of like the biggest creative mind in Milestone, was he had passed away, and his wife kind of like had filed a lawsuit against his other partners who had started Milestone with him when he were trying to restart it, because she felt like she was being like left out of it, and she wasn't going to be able to get like the portion of money she should have gotten from their, what they were going to end up making. And, that was eventually settled. And now they're going to, they were going to do comics, but now I feel like they're going to make a really big revival in film rather than comics with the Static Shock movie, which honestly, I'm really excited, because much like Miles, he's just another really cool Black superhero that I could see becoming like Miles. I could see him becoming just as popular as Miles has because of Into the Spider-Verse and, the video game most recently. I could see Static Shock. I could see him getting his own video game eventually, honestly. He would be a really cool character to play as. In my mind, it would be like Infamous, except he could fly. Because in Infamous, he could glide, but he can't fly. So,
Right.
and because the way his powers work is kind of similar. He shoots electricity, obviously, but he also has electromagnetism, so he can actually lift metal things up and throw them around. And I feel like a Static Shock video game would actually be really cool. And I feel like he's about to just introduce this universe, the Dakotaverse, to an entirely new group of people who never heard about it and only know Static as, a cartoon character. And by the way, his name is Static. It's not Static Shock. Static Shock is just the name of the comics. The comic wasn't even originally called Static Shock. It was just called Static. Later on, I'm not sure if after the show was called Static Shock because they eventually called the show Static Shock, or if, it was the other way around. I think I just said that wrong. What did I say? I'm not sure if they called the cartoon Static Shock because the comics ended up being called Static Shock, or if it was the other way around. That's what I meant to say. And yeah, his name is Static, not Static Shock. For anybody who calls him Static Shock, that's not his name. He's named after a song called Static by, who was the song? James Brown.
Okay.
Speaking of Dwayne McDuffie, he was our childhood. Some of you people watching this are probably wondering, what do you mean he was your childhood? What I mean is that he wrote, and I mean made significant contributions to a lot of the cartoons we grew up watching. Because he wrote for DC for a very long time. So most of these are going to be DC cartoons. Actually, I think every single one of these are at least WB-owned cartoons, which WB owns DC. So
I didn't watch the majority of superhero cartoons when I was a kid.
but they were great. You should.
I know they were great because I've been watching them, but.
I was about to say, so you're watching them now. Have you watched Justice League, the animated series?
I did. I've seen the entirety of Justice League, the animated series. I've seen the entirety of Justice League Unlimited. I've seen most of Batman, the animated series. I've seen most of Superman, the animated series. I didn't watch when I was a kid. I watched them in high school, but I didn't watch them when I was like an actual child.
Yeah, I still need to rewatch. Well, finish, because I never even finished it when I watched it when I was a kid. But Superman, the animated series. So he wrote and produced several of these cartoons. The first one on top isn't even DC, but it is WB. It was Ben 10, Alien Force, and Ultimate Alien. He wrote and produced a lot of episodes for Ben 10. Ben 10 Alien Force is my favorite Ben 10 season, I guess. It was multiple seasons, serious. And, he wrote for that, and he is a part of the reason why it's so good. He also wrote and produced on Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. He obviously Static Shock, because that was a character he created. The original Teen Titans cartoon, and for several direct-to-DVD animated DC movies. 3 of which are Crisis on Justice League, Crisis on Two Earths, Justice League Doom, and All-Star Superman. So he was really out here making some memorable things that I feel like it's not that he doesn't get credit for it. He's not like what's his name? The dude that helped create Batman.
Bill Finger.
Yeah, he's not like Bill Finger. Like, he gets his credit. It's just that he isn't as, well known for it as I feel like he should be, because he contributed a lot to some of the most popular DC cartoons to ever be made. The reason I just want to talk about this because I'm excited to see this, this universe of Black superhero come back into the spotlight and just give a bunch of superheroes for us, Black kids and other Black people to enjoy and have people that represent them on the big screen and in comic books and on cartoons. And, Black Lightning was definitely a big part of that. Even though the show got a little, much like all the CW shows, it's
ending.
Yeah, I know it's ending. It got a little.
Black Lightning is ending.
It got a little iffy in season 3, and then it picked up again, but it didn't pick up enough for me to want to watch it again. I
didn't even finish season 1.
Yeah, I think I watched season 1, season 2, started to watch season 3, didn't like it, and stopped. But I like Black Lightning as a character. I also prefer him when he's bald. I kind of don't like him when he has hair and a beard. And they made him look just like he does in the show in Young Justice, and that upset me because I was like, make him bald. What are you doing?
I like how he looks in the Young Justice cartoon. No, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of him bald. I do like how he looks in the Young Justice.
Yeah, I like him when he's bald. But
I just don't like bald superheroes. They just look
you
weird
don't
to
like
me.
bald superheroes?
They look weird to me. It's just like,
Do you like when
get some hair.
when Blade is bald and he has tattoos on his head instead of the hair?
No.
I agree with that. I
I like him having hair.
Yeah, I don't like Blade when he's bald. Blade should have hair. He should have that cool haircut that Wesley Snipes got.
I'm not even like a big fan of Blade. Regardless, I just don't like. I just definitely don't like him when he's bald. Like, grow some hair, bro. Just
like
not
one of
hard.
the things I want.
Maybe it is.
One of the things I want the most is just my favorite thing about Spider-Man is his interactions with other superheroes. And I just want to see him interact with so many of the characters that haven't been introduced in the MCU. I want to see him interact with Blade. I want to see him interact with Wolverine. I want to see him interact with so many of these characters that he hasn't been able to interact with because they haven't been.
I want to see him interact with Daredevil.
Daredevil, most definitely. I really want to see that. Which they got the rights back, so hopefully they get Charlie Cox back as Daredevil.
I pray to God.